But something that I found very interesting from Steve's book, and I've heard this before as well, is that it was framed to Dynamite that, hey, great news, we're bringing Davey over, your cousin, to come and wrestle for the promotion. And Tom says, if he's here, I'm gone. It's like,
That's right.
Why did they always have... did he always have animosity? What engendered this in the first place? Did Tom see Davey as a threat, maybe?
I think Davey was trained by the same teacher as Tom, Ted Betley,
Yep.
but he was maybe 3 years behind Tom. So I don't know if they ever even trained together when Dynamite first came over in 1978. I think Davey didn't really start training with Ted until Dynamite had already left UK and came over to Canada. I think with Dynamite, he didn't believe Davey had worked long or hard enough to get to that level. Davey kind of went through the same footsteps as Dynamite in UK. He was working with a lot of the same guys like Mick McManus and Jimmy Breaks. He was tag teaming with Big Daddy,
Yep.
Working with guys like Mark Rocco and Marty Jones. I don't think Dynamite really knew how much Davey had progressed, if he had learned much, but he wasn't convinced, that he was on the same level as him. And he felt if Davey came over and was an embarrassment or showed a poor work rate, it would reflect more on him, especially since they were cousins. And so Dynamite was very adamant to Bruce. He said, "You bring him here, I'm gone." And I don't know when they grew up if they knew each other well. I mean, they were cousins, obviously. I don't know how much they were around each other. Tom was obviously older. He would have been about 3 or 4 years older than Davey. But I kind of got the impression Davey had not earned his respect, and Tom was worried he would try to ride on Davey's coattails, and if he was a disappointment, Tom would have to carry him. And because he was his cousin and because they had the same trainer, Tom felt that was going to put pressure on him. He was not happy when Bruce initially told him Davey was coming over. And I think, as it turned out, then I think Tom was going to go to Germany or someplace, and it looked like he was going to leave the territory. And then Bruce thought, well, maybe this is a better time to bring Davey Boy in now, and because he knew that Tom was very opposed to it. I don't know how serious Tom was that if Davey came over, he'd leave the territory, but he was not happy about it, and preferred he just stay over in the UK. And I think for Tom, he just felt Davey hadn't proven himself and wasn't at that level. Even though they had the same teacher and he was working with decent guys over there. I think he just had a very negative impression of Davey. So this is a guy who hasn't paid his dues. He hasn't worked to get as hard as, worked as hard as I have, so now he's going to come over here, and I'll have to carry him, or the association will be made because we're cousins, and if he doesn't get over, if he's a flop, it's going to reflect on me. So but as it turned out, Bruce booked Davey over here when he thought Tom was going elsewhere to work, and then I think Tom's tour got canceled. I'm not sure where he was going to go. It was either to
he may have been Japan,
Australia.
As I was reading.
Yeah, it might have been Japan or something. And this was, I think, in 1981. And I know he did one tour there in 81, but an overseas trip he had planned was canceled. And as it turned out, Dynamite was still here when Bruce booked him here. And Tom seemed to soften on the idea. Not only that, Bruce booked him against Tom as his first match. And it was going to be a big test for Davey. And none of us had really seen Davey, knew much about him. But he passed the test. Like when he came over, he was pretty small and scrawny as well, but just the perfect size to work with Dynamite. And it was just incredible. But Tom showed some great leadership. He basically called the match and Davey was there for everything, so it was a testament to how well he had trained and how well he had learned working against the same guys Tom had broken in a few years earlier against. So basically he kind of followed the same path that Dynamite did, but a few years earlier, and or a few years later. And when he came here, Dynamite tested him, and they had such incredible chemistry in their first few matches, and Davey would not have gotten over as well if he didn't have that first few matches against Dynamite, but Tom called the match, called every spot, and it was just incredible how well they worked. And now he had a new rival, a new guy that he had worked with, because he had already wrestled a lot with Bruce and Brett and Keith, and we needed new opposition for Dynamite, new opponents, and Davey was that person. So, and Tom being the heel and the more experienced guy, was able to call the matches, and it was another great rivalry, but it wasn't all roses, because sometimes Tom took liberties with Davey and tested him, and so see how tough he is. So he pulled a lot of pranks on him. He was stiff with him sometimes in matches, but basically Davey passed the test, with flying colors, and because he had those great matches initially with Dynamite, he got over in the territory, and then just learned more and more, and became an incredible worker himself.